All rise for pledge. I have pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart. Here. Councilwoman Hudak. Here. Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notations of exits in the front and in the rear, an electronic device, please put it on vibrate. I make a motion to come out of the executive session, no decision was reached.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, first thing is discussion on the employee handbook. And it's in reference to the employment of relatives. I did call the one town that does have that, which was the town of Kent. We had a meeting this week, and I discussed it with Maureen at the time. And she has no idea of how it came in. It's been in there for a long time, but she doesn't know for what reason or why. So in the meantime, what I provided, have you all had an opportunity to read this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any, I mean, we're not passing it this evening, we're still going to have a little more discussion on it, but do I have everything that we kind of talked about in there? Now, I'm not going to say, I put in, actually, at the very bottom, no, not more than, that should be 2 members, not 3. That's an error on my part when I did it.
2 family members?
2 family members, and on the payroll at any time.
Well, I mean, I have no objections to 3. More than that, I probably would, but could we maybe talk about maybe full-time employees, maybe not more than 2 full-time, but if they were seasonal or
Yeah,
part-time?
we can do that. This
you
is
know,
all
then,
subject to discussion.
You know, I look at it as more of, as morbid as it sounds, the more family members you have, if there's a family emergency, like a death in the family, now you potentially have like 5 individuals who need to take off, as opposed to all the other things we're talking about here, you know?
Well, I have to admit, as a kid, I always wanted to work for the town. And when I saw the people who were working in the summertime, it sure the hell wasn't a hay, because I was only one person. But if you look down to see who worked for the town, you know, it gets a bit much.
Right.
Right now, we have, again, having more than 1 family member, which means 2, if we have 3, I mean, if someone's already working for the town. But there's a lot of people, not usually, because again, it's a hard thing to do. I believe you all had the opportunity to read what Patty Borman said about the lifeguards and things of that nature. The difficulty in a basketball game, you know, the official scorer doesn't show up and she picks someone out of the audience and we pay them, you know, $6.50. So yes, we'll discuss that. I think the bigger problem is the more that's there, I think the more that you get scrutiny of the public saying, well, how come Tony Hayes got 3 members working for his family? Right. I just had to change the spelling of my name.
But here's the thing, so if it's a member of an employee's immediate family may be considered for employment. So now what happens is we consider in accordance with the definition of immediate family. So now we consider an employee's spouse one of those categories, all right? So that person now gets a job. Does that person's immediate family, which may be extended, now do we have additional members of that family, which is not the 3, the 2? So in other words, you know, how exponentially can this go?
I don't know. I'm not actually in favor of this in particular. I think we can.
I mean, I think that's, you
I mean,
know,
I think that the town is big enough where this shouldn't be a big problem to find qualified people who aren't related. Shouldn't cause, you know, shouldn't be a hardship for us, I don't think, for the town.
I think as long, I do like the part about advertising.
Yeah.
For jobs, because I think in the past, the town really didn't advertise too well. So you just want to give everyone an equal shot, I think, to being interviewed.
I think
and the
that's-
most qualified person
that's
should get the
probably what
job.
we're really driving
That's what
at
we're
with
trying to
this.
drive at.
So you want to get rid of all the other stuff and just do whatever?
do what?
Well, I mean, first of all, okay, let's look at the second paragraph. At a minimum, all town of Southeast job position with a salary, I said, under $10 an hour must be advertised on the town's website. Any position with a salary over 10 has to be on the website and in the official newspaper. Is that fair?
Yes, I think that's what, I like that. I
Okay,
think that's good.
so that's good, okay? The policy statement is good. Elected officials. This policy is not intended to supersede the appointing authority of elected officials and does not apply to such appointments. Now, What does that mean? The town clerk, the clerk to the justices, each town justice is entitled to one clerk, by appointment. Because it can be anybody he wants, doesn't have to pick off a list, whatever. So that doesn't change. The deputy town clerks, the town clerk picks her deputies. And on here, that number should be 2, because I didn't change it. It should be 2. I checked the records, and in the past, there's been as many as 2 full-time deputy town clerks. You have the town clerk and 2 full-time deputies. As you know, we now have 2 full-times, 1 town clerk, 1 deputy town clerk full-time, and 1 deputy clerk part-time. So at some point in time, if we ever get into having some little extra money or something like that, I mean, everybody wants more employees, but right now it seems to be working, but she would have 2.
But from what this says then.
You
so
can't
the-
touch these.
Right, but the town clerk, and no offense to Michelle, that she would do it, but she could appoint
Her sister.
her husband, her sister.
Yes, she
I mean,
could.
that kind of,
But you can't,
Right.
you have no choice in that matter.
Right.
You can't say it. You can object to it. Supervisors, they've had their girlfriends working
No,
for
I-
them,
right,
and
yeah.
whatever, and,
Because
their
the-
wives,
judges had their, in,
whatever.
you know,
Okay,
their
so, but
wife as
we
the
can't
clerk.
control that. They're entitled to pick someone. There's nothing in the rule. You can file a lawsuit against them if you want, but they're entitled to the appointment. Confidential secretary to the supervisor. I'm entitled to a pick. I don't have to go through the
Right,
CSEA, or I get to pick one person, okay? I hate to say, I know one supervisor's got 2, but I don't need to. I do enough on
But I
my,
think it does look bad if you appointed your girlfriend or.
But that has the
you know.
appearance of
It-
impropriety,
right,
but
it
it's,
does.
but
But
we
we
can.
can't stop it.
No,
though, right,
no.
right.
because it's happened, it's present throughout the county, but, a smart person wouldn't do that.
Right.
A person who wants controversy will do it.
No, unless it's a really good person,
Well, she is.
unless that's,
Okay, so at any rate, 1 confidential secretary. Now, in the case of the highway superintendent, right now, he's entitled to hire, well, he can't have a deputy superintendent of highways because it's not in our code, okay? When Kevin Palmer took over for one who left office, Kevin came in, actually Jim Lawler came in, and Jim Lawler was the previous highway superintendent. He needed someone to train because he said, guys, I retired. I'll come help you out for a while, but there's no way. They brought in another individual who became the deputy. And 3 to 4 months later, the deputy became the superintendent of highways, and they abolished the position of deputy superintendent of highways, which we could always do. But the way the code is and is written, he's entitled to a deputy superintendent of highways, or he's entitled to a confidential secretary. Now, currently, the secretary to the highway department is a teamster, okay? So the fact that the person's a teamster, if she were to leave, he could put in a confidential secretary. He's entitled to that pick. And I suppose he could have a deputy superintendent of highways if we pass that rule to allow it. Okay? And those are the confidential ones that you can't change.
Right.
In a sense, other than giving him a deputy superintendent of highways if he has his own secretary. Okay?
Yep.
Now, competitive class positions. This policy is not intended to supersede civil service regulations pertaining to appointments made to competitive class positions. Therefore, this policy cannot be used as a basis for denying the appointment of an individual to a competitive class position, even if such appointment would constitute the employment of a relative as defined by policy. So, here's the case. I hire, there's a list, the county has a list that you have to hire. When you have a CSEA employee, you have to hire off a list. The county has a test, they have classifications for the position, and you got to score within the top 3. If you ask a person within the top 3 and they reject the position, then you can go to number 4. Now, even though the person we have people that work here in town, they've worked here for probably 15 years, part-time. Some now, the kids are out of school, they'd like to come and work full-time. We had one that took a test. I believe she's definitely scored within the top 3. However, within the top 3, there's like 8 candidates. In other words, someone got 100, someone got 95, and someone got 90. And out of all of them, but the person's within the top 3. So we don't have to take the person that got the 100, we don't have to take the person that got 95, but he or she is within the top 3, even though there's 15, because they got the same score, you can pick that person.
Okay.
Okay? Definition of immediate family we just discussed, but not really. For purposes of this policy, immediate family includes the employee's spouse, brother, sister, parents, children, stepchildren, father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and any member of an employee's household. Now, I lived in a foster home. And let's say, matter of fact, it was accused that I lived with the Stevensons. I wish I did, because they're rich. They got a pool, but I never lived there, and I was accused of it. So in this case, any other member of the employee's household. Now, I did go to his house. His grandmother invited me for dinner at the house for Thanksgiving one year, and I went. I didn't have a family. I went to their house. So let's say I was living there like I was accused of. I would then be a member of the employee's household. That's really stretching it.
What, Tony, I would assume that this is also, because it said employee spouse, but any other member might refer to a significant other who was not married.
But if you read it, unless we change it, I mean, we're here to write this policy if we have this
That's a
policy.
good point.
And any other member of the employee's household.
Right, that's what
Could
I'm
be the
saying.
maid.
Right, that's,
So how do you want to reword it?
no, I think that's why it says any other member of the employee's household. I think refers to, is in
butler,
case
the
of.
chauffeur?
No,
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 seriously.
significant, no, there's,
Or a partner, I mean.
yeah, you can put that, but whether it's a significant other, but they're unmarried, but that's, which is fine, that's what I think it means, or what, I mean, that's how I'd interpret it.
Okay, so, but if we think that's the interpretation, we should put it in there somewhere.
It's up to everybody on the board.
Domestic partner,
Yeah.
That's
Is that what you want
I
that?
think we should put that in there.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
How about, you still want to leave the employee's household, or?
Well,
Yes.
it gives everyone, it gives an out if there's some,
Yeah.
you know,
Look,
if it's
we-
really weird.
This is, we've had, through the years, I mean,
I know.
there hasn't been a problem, but I guess there is. Okay. A member of an employee's immediate family may be considered for employment by the town through this recruitment process, provided the employment shall not create either a direct or indirect supervisor-subordinate relationship with the family member, or create either an actual conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest. The same criteria will also be considered when assigning, transfer, or promoting employees. Again, it hasn't been a problem, but I don't have a problem with it being in there.
And I don't think there's a real possibility of exponential, but that's something I just want to point out.
I think the problem would be, and is maybe, if one family member is a supervisor
Hey.
of another family
Okay,
member.
not supervisor.
Not the
Oh,
town
thank
It's
you.
stated here, that's
A,
the
Yeah.
whole point.
Yeah.
person in charge of somebody else. That
Now,
could be a problem
we
with
do- we-
Or
disciplinary
a
issues,
department head,
or
right?
a department head, right.
Disciplinary
And if you're, and that person's in the
In
same
that
department,
department,
right.
right.
But then that's, it says it here, you can't hire them.
Right.
It-
Right,
Not,
well,
not
that's-
into that position.
Right.
There's
But-
no direct
and we-
or
and we-
indirect subordinate.
And we'd have to be smart enough not to
Right.
put the person in that position ourselves.
Exactly.
Like if
Well,
they go
that's-
for a promotion or whatever, say, you can't go there, but you can come here.
Right, you can't work like, you can
Under
work in the
your mom.
recreation department, but you can't work in the
Special
the town
districts.
clerk's office or
Yeah.
something like that.
So-
Assuming it was poor Michelle's daughter or something to that effect.
Well, that's, right,
You know,
that's,
you would just have that person somewhere else.
And, okay, now, again, I meant 2 members, I put down 3, because again, right now we have 4 with 1. And that, whatever, a parent, or whatever, a child, whatever, 2. You want to change it to 3? I
So
think
we're
that gets to
saying
be
a parent, just for argument's sake, a parent, and in addition to that, 2 children, let's just say, which would be a total of 3.
3.
Is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I'm
Not,
sort of.
I'm not looking at it as, 1 plus 3 more for a total of 4.
When you say 3 members of family, does that mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's,
I'm feeling a little insecure about that definition.
well,
If
I'm
it's 2,
trying,
3, or 5.
well, I'm trying to limit the number, like I said.
I know, but members of family.
Well, we
So-
already,
So
we
how do you,
described,
it's the member of the employee's immediate family and
it's a
as
family,
defined, or how,
as defined,
how do you define who the 3 members of family are?
well, because you have the definition of what a family
Above,
is.
of what's
Right,
above.
based on
Well,
that.
but, I mean, I'd like to, see if we can just, 3 members, in other words, 3 members of family. So let's say it's, employee A. Is that 2, you change it to 2. Is it 2 members of employee A? And, or is it then 2 members of employee A, but one of those employees of employee A can have 2 members of their family in a different, I don't know.
I didn't take it that
No,
way.
No, That's your exponential there.
Right,
And-
exactly.
And it doesn't work that way.
Well, I just want to
Just-
make sure, because if I'm sitting there looking at this statute or this proposed code regulation, you know, I gotta look at it like, what does that mean to me in terms of how can I, as a potential, you know, like I want my daughter's husband, and my daughter's husband's possibly sister to, you know, that's how I gotta look at it. I mean, I'll think a little
Right.
bit more about it, but what I'm saying to you is, when you say at no time can more than 3 members of family, first of all, family,
And we defined what the family is.
the
That's
purpose
the-
of meeting includes the employee's spouse, brother, sister, et cetera.
Yep.
Okay? So you're saying now we're gonna say 2, though. 2 members of this immediate family, so that employee's immediate family, there's only 2 at a time with that. That's how you're
In other
interpreting.
words, I'm already working for the town, hey,
Correct.
okay?
Right.
And my sister-in-law's husband or sister-in-law's son wants to work for the town. The name may not be a Hay, but he's related to me. One person can do it. One, so now
That's
you
how
got
I
2
look.
members. That's the way
That's how I interpreted it.
That's the
like-
interpretation. So if I gotta reword it, but do you
Well,
want more?
that's what I'm saying. In other words, can we just make that a little sharper or a little more defined?
So
Because-
we can, so someone help me out.
I mean, to me, all of this, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even see any, I hate to say this, but there aren't that many people floating around here, but as long as we're doing it, you know, if we can just really make it
Okay.
a little
Do
more
you wanna write
specific.
something and add?
No, I want Will to write it.
I do,
Now, when would
I'm the
this-
town
That's
board.
right, rec his summer.
when we vote this, if we vote something like this in, when would it take effect then, or?
well, we'll discuss it at the next meeting, make sure it's everything we want,
Right.
and then we pass it, and,
But would
Too
it,
much.
if there are any situations?
well, no,
they'd be
anything that,
grandfathered?
this law, anyone that's currently working
They'd be
for,
grandfathered.
and there's one family right now with 4 members, so next year when the
Right.
season comes
That's why I'm
forward,
saying it, because I wanna,
but they're
I
in
wanna
already.
make certain that, well, they are, but it's a situation that we can use that as a template, as something that we can really, you know, use and say, okay, let's look at the different situations that presents.
Well,
But technically grandfathered in is grandfathered in. Just
Correct.
because they're seasonal doesn't mean that next year's a new season and they're gone. They've already, you know, if they've been working here seasonally for 10 years, in my mind, they're still grandfathered in if they want to come back. for
That's a good
Season
question.
11.
well, once this policy goes into effect, if it goes into
But
effect,
that's a good question.
that's when it starts.
So anyone who has been previously seasonal like this is going to be grandfathered in?
Sounds like a record-keeping nightmare, to tell you the
I know, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
saying.
that bad, we don't have that
Well,
many.
but we have to look at that.
Well-
Because it's not as if it's a full-time person that absolutely full-time person to me grandfathered in, period. But if you're seasonal, what kind of employee are you if you're seasonal that you would be grandfathered in? That's an issue,
Well-
in my opinion.
Swimming instructor. We were given some scenarios by the Recreation Department. That, prime example, the person's here, there's 2 sisters, or a brother and a sister, whatever, and one's a junior and one's a freshman. Now, in 2 years, there's
Right.
one, well, they don't even necessarily have to go, because we have one person that started, matter of fact, gave him a
Right.
proclamation.
I don't have a problem with it. What I'm saying to you is, as long as we do it with some degree of specificity,
Fine.
I think we're okay.
Okay, Will?
But because,
specify.
you know, seasonal means part-time, so what we're doing is, what you're saying is where, and I don't have a problem with it, I'm just saying I think we have to say it. Are we grandfathering in part-time seasonal employees into this? That's what I'm saying, because it's
would-
only gonna last a little bit of.
Right, it's
because
not gonna be a
these are-
bookkeeping
These are
nightmare for
basically
long. I mean,
kids,
Because right now, within our departments, there's no full-time related, there's no relationships with anyone, which is good.
okay.
It's only with the seasonal, summer, part-time help. You know, we have one person that works in special districts for the summer, and most of the lifeguards.
So I think at this point in
It's
time.
minor.
You know, maybe, you know, but I like to look at these things to make sure there's no misunderstandings.
Okay.
Because when you're doing the statute, you know, the code or whatever, you want to make certain. So if you want to say that, you know, seasonal employees, or maybe we don't even worry about it, because for the most part, they're going to be going, you know, people in that position are going to be going to college, et cetera, then fine.
But they still work here when they go to college, because I was gonna say before, one guy
Well,
worked
could you
here.
figure it out like
Hey, let me
back?
finish.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I'm gonna forget.
There's one person worked here from the time he was 14 till he was 23 years old. That's a long span. Now go.
I forgot. No, Could we grandfather for a period of time, knowing that that will, then those people will be done here? To make it clear? I don't know. I'm
You know
just-
what?
I mean, I don't
I
think it's a
don't
big
want the
problem
policies. I
anyway,
don't care what
just
you
so
do.
that everyone knows. I'm just saying that if you're gonna have if we're drafting this kind of legislation, we ought to be like really,
The more you try to draft, the bigger the conundrum, you know.
but the problem
because
is
then
if you don't draft, then
you're
you can
in-
have you can have a litigation
Yeah,
conundrum.
but then you're also in violation
No,
of
you
your
just don't
own
hire the person to
policy
come in.
if you say, you know, we're gonna do it for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, you know,
I don't see it
the
going that
lifeguard works for 6 years. I mean, it's just,
You know, and to me, I don't think that's really a great issue, but I'm just throwing it out there. Because when you say grandfathering, it means what?
They're gonna be old if they stay
Well,
here.
when I meant grandfather, I meant at least for the end of the season, that's what I meant.
Oh, really?
Not going into.
You're not
next
gonna,
year.
first of all, they're gonna be
No,
gone
but-
by the time we pass this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the
Exactly.
season will be over.
That ain't gonna happen.
Right, but, I mean,
It's just
the main important, we just want to make sure we get the best employees and everyone has the opportunity to apply for
They're
a
getting
job
it.
besides just
I think they've always had
friends
it.
or friends
This,
or relatives or whatever, so. And the fact that we're advertising going forward for jobs on the website and stuff, I think that's a
I mean, I
big
think that's the
step.
crux.
we've always advertised on the website.
And then the bottom line is if people don't respond to the advertising and it's somebody who's the family,
Right.
you know, then, oh, okay, great, so we have this too. You know, God forbid that we find out that we've advertised, we don't have anyone and we don't have any immediate family. But, you know, at this point in time, I really,
And again, we can't even fine tune this with a little asterisk that, you know, if you're at a swim meet or you're at a basketball game and you gotta go into the stands and bring someone to come up and help you work out. I mean, we can't cover
Well,
that in
that's-
here either.
right, no, exactly.
And it might be the lady's, she's already got a kid and there's, the third kid comes in. You have to leave a little
Right, no,
common
exactly.
sense.
All right,
So.
so we'll
there's no
table this
asterisk.
for now, or we're
Well,
just,
not table, we're just gonna continue working on
Continue.
it.
You're gonna
We
see-
need a better definition here,
yep.
which will go to Will, and he's gonna specify however. Are you clear on what you have to do, Will? 'Cause
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not.
clear as mud.
Okay, so Will will come up with a little better definition than what I had, because I envisioned one thing. I changed it from 3 to 2, which I meant, I don't know why I got put 3 there. And so it'll be on for the next agenda, and then if we like it, we can put it on the following agenda to pass.
I'm
And that'll-
comfortable with 3, unless obviously the rest of the board feels strong that it's 2. But
I think with-
I have no problem with 3.
Okay, I'm just trying to
Is this,
limit.
just so I understand, is this something that you want to put into like the employment handbook or
Yeah.
as a policy
It
of the
says-
town? It's not you're not adopting a local law?
No,
No,
it's not
no,
a local
no.
law.
Proposed amendment to the Town of Southeast Employee Handbook.
I guess
Yeah.
policy could always be amended if so needed, I guess, down the
course,
line,
yeah.
whatever, if there's a situation or waive it or.
Okay. I think the less, the better.
I
mean,
do
there's,
too.
there's people out there that would like jobs, need jobs, and 3, 3, 3, you know.
Yeah, I
One
lean
family,
towards
2,
2
3
and
families take up 9
grandfathering.
positions, but whatever, I don't care.
But it, again, that's the whole Liz issue of exponentially. It doesn't work that way. It's just, for lack of a better word, it's Tony Hay, his girlfriend, and his daughter. End of story.
maybe it's
To my
three-
girlfriend, how about
That-
that?
how about this?
That's 3 people.
How about this?
You're done.
Partner.
It doesn't mean
How
that
about
your
three-
girlfriend gets
three
to bring
members-
2 other people and
Three
vice
members
versa.
of a specific family or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. That could end it. That could end the debate.
Okay. But, okay, you want 3? I don't care.
I
Whatever.
prefer 2, but I'll go, obviously.
Okay, let's take a quick survey. 2 or 3?
I say 2.
I say 2.
I say 2. 2 wins.
2,
1 already. No problem.
only because you said it.
Hey, Edwin, what do you think? 2?
Too late. No
We got-
pun intended.
We got the 2 in. Okay.
No pun intended.
It'll be on the next agenda. And I think whatever that was said last, that you said, Will, did you write that down? I think that's what it should be.
What?
What the comment?
Exactly, right.
Forward it to me. Michelle's taking notes too. Okay, we'll write that in there. Hopefully, we agree, and then we'll forward it to the next meeting thereafter. Okay, from the work session. We do that because we don't have much of an agenda anyway. At least we talked a little bit tonight. Okay. Regular meeting correspondence, waive the reading of the
I'll
correspondence.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the voucher list, $689,786.68. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. 3, setting the meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Bristol, New York, at 7 PM unless otherwise noticed. Now, originally, we had Thursday, August 3, 2017. And based on our agenda this evening, the only thing coming forward at the next meeting at this time, and we only 2 weeks from now, is of course a handbook. It's not a thing that's gonna really transpire this year. So I drew a line through it, and I'll announce that the next meeting will be Thursday, August 24th, 2017. Is there a second for discussion?
Second.
Discussion. Now, I will say, if something of any importance ever comes up, we can always have a special meeting. And if there's a need for the meeting on Thursday, August 3rd, or anytime, we can have a meeting. So right now, I'm just leaving it with the one. And by September, hopefully we'll be back to 2 meetings a month, but if there's nothing to discuss, there's no sense coming here and talking about nothing.
Exactly.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
4, budget transfers, so moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, Brewster Ice Arena ARB recommendation. Now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated July 10, 2017, in connection with the proposed construction of a roof covering the existing outdoor ice rink on premises located at 11 Sutton Place and 64 Fields Lane, tax map numbers 78.2-16.2 and 78.2-14, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made part hereof, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed for this project by the planning board. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
6, resolution adjusted base proportions. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast accepts the recommendation of the town assessor and hereby authorizes the town clerk to sign and provide to the Office of Real Property Services Form RP-6703 for the town-wide and town outside village containing the base proportion of 60.255931% and 60.882824% respectively pursuant to real property tax law and New York State rules and regulations in the form and substance as may be approved by the town attorney. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Number 7, it's a resolution modifying employee handbook. What is that?
You probably
Oh.
at the table.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, no, this is
Yeah,
different. Okay.
okay. You know, I was confused myself because I don't have the whole book together, but I need, in order for me to put the book together, we've done these, in other words, we just passed the CSEA and the Teamster contract earlier in the year. And some of the changes to them, we have to put those changes over to management. So these, what we have to add to it. Now, when we do the new handbook, there's probably about 15, but I've saved all the resolutions over the past few years. This will bring us up to date, and I'm gonna wait to do that, because if this policy on employees, relatives of, will be added as well. And then we'll get it printed. We haven't done it in about 3 years. So, resolved that effective immediately, the Town of Southeast Employee Handbook shall be updated to reflect changes made in the town's unionized employee contracts for years January 1, 2017 to December 31st, 2020, that affect the town's non-union workers. 701 wage and salary. Non-union confidential appointed clerks, secretaries. Full-time positions affected by resolution, town supervisor, confidential secretary, town clerk, deputy town clerks, town justice, clerk to the justice, town highway, superintendent, confidential secretary if appointed, and not a union worker, which we discussed earlier on. Okay, so that's in there. Now, the starting salary and subsequent salary increases for these positions will mirror and duplicate the same CSEA salary stepped clerk in the latest CSEA contract based on the employee's date of hire. However, longevity raises earned will follow longevity raises management positions, Resolution 27 of 2016. So let me put it in English. We have union workers, and in their contract, which I inherited, and you're not going to change it once it's in the contract, for the first 8 years when a CSE employee is hired, they are guaranteed a 2.5% raise for 8 years. Now, when my secretary comes in, or the clerks to the justices come in, they get their salary. But then the only time they ever get a raise is, and they come in at a much lower salary, mind you, that they don't get any other raise. So the union workers are jumping up 2.5% a year, while our confidential people stay like this. So in order to be fair, and there's only actually 5 members within the town, this will keep them on par with others that have come in. That's the fairest way to do that. Now, when it comes to longevity raises, that changes a little bit, because we have a 5, 10, 15, 20, and theirs is different and higher than the other. So we're gonna bring them back to the management level, but in order for them to keep pace with anyone else that works in the town, for the first 8 years, they get 2.5% extra. Then they're at least equal, and that's fairness. Okay.
You left out at 802, vacation leave.
Yeah.
You didn't
No,
read that piece.
wait, where is
Not
it?
yet.
I didn't do that.
I didn't hear you read 802 vacation.
He hasn't gotten there
I'm
yet.
doing it now.
Okay, good. When you said,
Well, okay, 802 vacation leave. After the employee has completed 15 years of continuous service, the employee shall be credited with 25 days vacation leave based on the contract. I'm telling you now, if they ask for any more vacation time, there's just no way. 5 weeks? I think that's incredible. I want to get a job like that. Okay, accumulation to carry more than 10 days, they're not allowed to carry more than 10 days from 1 year to the next. Okay? Last is 803 is sick leaves. Accumulation, an employee shall be granted sick leave with pay of 12 sick days a year at the rate of 1 per month. Maximum sick leave accumulation shall be 165 days. And that's based on the contract. Okay, so move for discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is the supervisor's report. Lynn's favorite item. Want to go sit in the audience on this one?
No,
Feel like
it's
home?
okay.
Okay.
I'll-
Well,
It's hot out. Sit
it's
good.
almost the end of July, and we put together a good budget because we're right there. I can't tell you anything good or bad. It's running to perfection at the moment.
Okay.
We're running ahead on some things, running behind on the other, but the bottom line, if we keep going at the pace we're going, and I'm not gonna jinx it by bringing up anything in particular, because we know things change pretty rapidly. So with that, that's all I can report. Okay, recognition of public. Sorry,
shucks.
time out before we go to the public. I make a motion to waive the rules. As you know, the Brewster Library came to us some time back about a lot line adjustment. They're gonna put, before they do the referendum for the big extension, they're put a smaller extension. And we're doing this tonight because it would have gone on to the next meeting, which may not have. And time is of the essence on this as well, right?
Well, there's a 30-day permissive referendum period, which has to pass before we can convey the lot. It's a parcel of property about 429 square feet out of the gold lot, which they want, the library wants to be able to bump out the library approximately where that ramp is that goes into the entrance. But in order to do that, they would need to acquire that parcel of property from the town.
And we
We
did
had
discuss.
discussed that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we-
This is formalizing what we
Correct,
discussed.
yeah, so we had that discussion, we had the presentation.
And the library have presented to the village board of, the planning board, to get an approval of a lot line adjustment. But we couldn't fulfill all the requirements until the town has the authority to convey that piece of property.
Okay, now, did we waive the rules to start?
We need a second to waive the rules.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now therefore be resolved, that the town board finds and determines as follows, that the subject parcel is surplus property of the town of Southeast, that based upon the review of an EAF, there will be no significant impact to the environmental resulting from anticipated conveyance of the subject parcel to the Brewster Library Association, that such conveyance should be for nominal consideration, as the Brewster Library is predominantly funded by taxpayers of the town of Southeast, and that it would be in the general public interest and promote the general health, safety, and welfare of the people of the town to consent to the conveyance of the subject parcel to the Brewster Library Association, and therefore resolved that the supervisor be and is hereby authorized to execute any and all deeds of conveyance, consents, application, plots, and any and all auxiliary documentation as may be approved by the town attorney to facilitate the transfer of the subject parcel to Brewster Library Association, and be further resolved that this resolution and authorization is subject to a 30-day permissive referendum provided by law. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question, and I think I know the answer, but I just want to check. So, and I know it's all coming out of, it's all taxpayer money, so to speak, but the library, just for budgeting, they are paying for all of the surveys and all of this?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
And their fees have all been paid.
okay.
Now, this resolution also winds up on the website now for people, since it was a last-minute thing, if anyone
Well,
wants.
tomorrow, you'll repost this tomorrow?
It will go in the minutes. You want it to go,
Yeah, I would put this,
Well,
Well, I'm just saying, it's not on the original, if anyone wanted to
it's not on his
review it.
backup papers.
yeah, but
That's what I meant.
when she posts the minutes, it'll be there. You want a special posting?
Well,
Well, how
no,
long
not
before
a
the minutes are
special,
out?
I'm
How-
just
wait, time
saying
out.
if it could be added on.
How long before it's on your minutes?
it's usually like a week. But I could take down what's there and put up,
Okay.
add this to it.
She'll repost tonight.
Even if it's just attached to the agenda
Right,
and
that's
backup
what I meant.
papers is, I think, what, yeah.
Right, because
Great.
that way everyone could look at it if, because when things are put in last minute, it's not on the agenda. and
Right.
I don't want to be accused of like trying to sneak something in or whatever.
The good part is that we discussed this.
Right, no,
So,
I know we
prior
did
to
in the
this.
past, but, yeah.
No, I agree, I think it should be on.
Okay, so
We could
Michelle,
just
you'll do
add it
that
and
tomorrow?
Scan it on.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Back to the public comment. Town board members.
I believe it's the Fireman's Parade on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
I haven't seen one notification anywhere.
I know, and I really
not?
want, it's so
I haven't
much
seen
fun.
Yeah.
So everybody should
It's
go. I think
Wednesday
it's
at
Wednesday at 7
Yeah,
o'clock.
that's correct.
Wow.
So,
Starts at, on Marvin and up Main Street to the firehouse.
It's like the usual.
The usual, right, well, they
Yeah.
changed it that one year because of the,
Well, they're gonna come up Marvin from down and
Yep.
come up Main Street itself?
yep,
Okay, like normal.
yep, just like that.
I'd like to make a public comment,
Okay,
if it's still open.
kind of, go ahead.
First off, as far as the hiring of family members and all, I think the last thing that any town should be is a family business. It should be diversified. And I'm sure the elite of this town would like a family business, but just my opinion, I think it should be a very diversified group of people and not. It's nice to have, your son doing the DPW or something, father-son team, but, maybe it's not practical. That's one opinion. Secondly, Lynn, can you do me a favor?
sure.
This was given to Mr. Hay. Can you read it into the record?
I,
Before, can I see that? I wanna see what he said was given to Mr. Hay.
oh, yeah, please.
Dennis Santucci, 5 Shady Lane.
I'm gonna ask for a 1-minute recess to talk to council about what's being proposed. All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to take, a motion to come out of the brief recess?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to go into the executive session
More what?
for the purpose of what was handed to me this evening? Or handed to Lynn Eckhart?
Are we coming back or?
Of course we're going.
Oh, okay. I
We have
don't
to
know.
discuss what was put in front of us.
Well, if you can
You
we
need a
express those
second.
parameters, that's what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, we were given a letter this evening dated July 12th to myself from Michael Levine, building inspector, evaluation of motocross track at 7 Shady Lane. We have to discuss the content. It's been asked to be read into the record, which is 5, possibly 6 pages long, and it will take quite a long time. It can be posted on the web if that be satisfactory to you instead of reading the record.
I would prefer if you read it,
If
if
we're
you don't mind.
going into
Okay,
executive
we're going to
session. it
executive
would-
session, so we'll see if he gets
But
here.
if we're going into executive session, is this in case of is this because of possible litigation? I mean, we have to give a reason. that's all.
Correct.
Possible
Correct.
litigation. Because we refuse to read it into the record, it could be litigated. So yes, possible litigation. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please, make a motion to come out of executive session, no Decision was made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mrs. Santucci, earlier in the evening, I called for recognition of public comment. We went into another item. We went back to the public again. You did not come forward. You came in when it came to recognition of town board and town board comment, then asking to be recognized. You're setting a precedent tonight by asking one of the town board members to write a letter that you actually wrote. Sir,
Mr. Santucci.
I will continue, I'll continue my
No,
comment.
'cause-
No, wait, time out. So the bottom line to this whole thing, you're here present, you can read your letter into the record. A town board member will not do that.
You can,
You're gonna read it?
No.
no, you're,
you will read
but
it.
you're
Prefer not
welcome.
It's your letter.
But
I'd
you're,
really prefer not to. If
No.
one of the members
that's
could
okay.
read it, maybe Will can read it. How's that?
No,
I had nothing to
by
do
no
with Mr.
means.
Santucci.
no, you're like anybody in the
I'd
public.
prefer not to read it. I would really like one of the board members to
The
read it.
board members will
I don't
not-
think I can get through it.
Huh?
I don't think I can get through it.
Well,
Oh, I think,
That letter has cost me a mountain of money. You know, great, it's a great board. Everybody says, we salute the flag every time we have a board meeting. We're gonna uphold all the laws of the town. Can you just do me one favor? Read page 5, number 2 on page 5.
you read
It's
it.
a little paragraph.
You read it.
That's all
It's
is.
your letter.
I really think you should read it if you feel strongly about it. I would, here's page 5.
And that's a public letter. It's foyable, and, I mean, obviously you got it, so.
Take your time, you got it
That the
long.
town should not enforce chapter 134-3E of the town code against the property owner of the track. There's a town code. It has, it's, but they're saying in here that, my neighbor, who has a racetrack next door, he has accessory right to ride the motorcycle. If you have a piece of property, as long as you ride over the 100-foot threshold, you can ride the motorcycle, no problem. Anybody can, all right? Yes, it might be an accessory right, but he doesn't have 100 foot in any direction of his property. And Mr. Levine is saying in this letter, if you guys would like to read it, I'm not gonna be able,
we've
I
all
will
read it.
not be able to get through this letter, believe me. But Mr. Levine is saying in this letter, he will not uphold the town law, chapter 134-3E of the town code against the property owner of the track, Mr. Heineke. So, do we have laws in the town?
Of course we do.
Or do we just pick and choose?
I believe that letter responds to your inquiry. It took quite a while to write it because it took a lot of research, and that's the building
So,
inspector's
Tony, hey,
decision.
I'm asking you tonight, are you gonna uphold 134, whatever it is, of the town code? Or are you gonna ignore it?
Stop.
Just so I can point out something, Mr. Santucci, you are represented by counsel in many different issues, litigations with the town of Southeast. Your counsel is not here tonight. I don't think it's appropriate for you to be getting into a dialogue with the town board on litigated matters. And I'm not involved in that litigation, so I know very little about what's going on here. I have seen that letter, I haven't read it. But to be honest with you, if you want to read that letter into the record, the board is going to allow that, but otherwise.
Mr. Stevens, again, I will not be able to get through that letter.
Well, that-
I'll choke up. That letter is just out of control for me to read it. But here again, I'm asking the town, do we uphold every law of the town, or do we pick and choose? Nothing to do with my litigation. I don't even have a litigation, honestly. I have some violations on the property, and Mr. Heineke has a racetrack in his backyard that's a half acre big, maybe bigger, all right? So I'm asking the town, do we uphold all our laws of the town, or do we pick and choose for certain residents? That's all I'm asking.
We don't tell the building inspector what rules to enforce and not to enforce. I mean, that's, he's.
You do pledge to that flag that you're gonna uphold the laws of the land.
We're not the enforcement arm. I don't want, I mean, I'll let Will. I mean,
Look, about less than a month ago, in this very room, there's a business that came to this town. The building inspector made an interpretation whether an item was a structure or not. The board listened to it, and they uphold the decision of the building inspector. That there is a decision of the building inspector which affects you and another party. If you don't like whatever he's written there, there's a way that you can overcome that. And that's all
Sure
we
it
can
is.
say. We
Another
have nothing to do with it.
$10,000 with Mr. Logori, that's fine. And that's the route I'll have to go, but that's besides the point. But I'm asking you one simple question. Do we uphold all our laws, or do we pick and choose?
I think we uphold all. You can't prove, I don't believe, that we're not picking it, and we are picking and choosing.
All right,
That's your
the
opinion.
building inspector says, well, yeah, we're not gonna look at that
Okay,
law.
I don't believe, Mrs. Santucci, that we're in a position to get into the, or to crawl into the building inspector's mind as to what his motive is. Our obligation as a town board, we have all sworn to uphold the laws, not only of the town, but of the state and of the federal government. And we do our best. We're guided by our employees. It is my opinion that our employees, including the building inspector, he enforces the laws, all of the laws. Any interpretations are interpretations that can be challenged by attorneys or challenged by anybody. And that's what you, I believe, upon information and belief, that's what you've been doing, and I would encourage you to continue to do that. The issue, I believe, that that Will just raised is the fact that if you're still represented by counsel, it puts us in an awkward position, because we have our counsel here, and you don't have your counsel. So it puts us in an awkward position, and I don't know if there's any direct or anything direct that's impacting, but as far as I'm concerned, the answer to your question is yes, we uphold laws. Yes, we uphold all of our laws. Yes, we tell our employees to uphold all of the laws. If there is some kind of a difference of opinion, then that has to be tested through the legal system. That has to be tested through the use of attorneys and judges who make the ultimate decision as to whether or not these laws are being applied equally and applied correctly. And that's really what it is. And all I can say to you is, as far as where we are right now, as far as reading anything, you are free as a member of the public to read that right now. We are not in a position to read it. The public, everybody in the public, everyone that's listening to us can foil any of those records because they're town public records. And I would encourage anyone to do that. But at this point in time, I don't believe we're in a position to go any further, with all due respect to you, sir.
I thank you for explaining that. I thank you for saying that the town holds the laws. And I believe that that was a memorandum to Mr. Hay and to the town board to review further and make a decision on what you're gonna do. But if you uphold the
No,
laws,
sir, that is
that's
not
all
what that
I'm
letter
asking.
says.
That's all I'm asking. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Anyone else in the public? No. You had your turn, sorry. No, you can, anyone wish to? No? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, just, I just wanted to thank everyone who helped with the fireworks on July 1st. It was a little stressful that night. The weather was bad, and miraculously, about 8:30, 9 o'clock, the skies cleared up, and we had the show. Other communities did cancel theirs, but we got it in, and there was a good crowd, and it went well.
That's
So,
stick-to-itiveness of
yes,
Southeast, right?
thankfully, we stuck to it, but that's it.
Anyone else?
We were talking about the volunteer fire department parade, that's great, great event. Please all
Wednesday.
come out,
What time is it?
Please,
Wednesday is
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And what time did they close the roads into the village? That's what happened to me last time.
At least 6:30, if not
Maybe
earlier.
not earlier, maybe 6:15.
Who knows, does anyone know?
I guess the village would have to.
The village would probably,
Village police, I guess.
yeah.
Okay, Fireman's Parade, Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
Starts
other
at
comment?
Marvin Avenue and it goes on to Route 6, Main Street, around Town Hall, and it ends at the firehouse.
And it's a wonderful event.
Yeah, very nice.
What was different in the past? It went up,
Well, that one year when they had that retaining wall situation, they started at the,
There's
yeah,
a
but they
fire
went
department.
further, they went past, the reviewing stand was up by Beechers.
Right.
yeah, that was the one year that they.
So the reviewing stand's gonna be back
it's
across the
back
Cameo?
near the
That's where it
Yep.
was last year.
Yep, on
Yep.
the
Very good. Okay. See no other comment?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.